in Ottawa. So Ottawa's a pretty wintry place right now, and a lot of people lose gloves and mittens. So there's a community group that started last year that collects loan mittens, mittens that have been separated from their pair, from lost and founds, from donations, and they try to pair them up with plausible matches. Not exact matches, but mittens that are very close, gloves that are very close. And last year, they collected 4,000 mittens and made 1,700 pairs. This year, they don't have enough storage space and transportation ability to do this, and so we gave them a grant basically for storage of loan mittens. And we are looking forward to seeing how many mittens they can pair up this year.
That's awesome. Fun, cool. Take it.
Okay, I answer this question differently every time because there's too many. But I'll talk about one that I think it's kind of funny. Like I was known within the chapter of never voting for urban gardens. Not that I don't like urban gardens, I think they're amazing. We got so many of them for so long that I just said I'm never voting for one. And then we got one that I voted for that like freaked everybody out, but it was called Hops on Lots. And I think what I loved about it was it had a couple twists. So instead of a new urban garden, they were going to take patches of existing urban gardens throughout the city and plant hops for beer. And then they were going to harvest the hops and work with local breweries to create a beer that was sort of connected to that community where they actually grew them. And then I think they were also going to like try to pair up with nonprofits to donate to the nonprofit. So they just kept adding these twists to it, and I was like, yes, that's the type of urban garden project that I want us to support.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Joe from Gainesville. I don't really have all of that mapped out, so I'm just going to read a little bit about this. So one, it was called Gainesville GNV, or I'm sorry, Music GNV. It gives grants for recording artists, and they put it best. Music GNV remains accessible to marginalized and underserved members of our community who bring unique perspectives and contribute to the shared musical journeys and experiences. So it was our pleasure to support that group. One of my favorite ones.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Everyone's sharing their most awesome grants, the ones that are most memorable.
Yeah, I think the most memorable grant in Toronto is a project called Art on Barton. A set of artists convinced a developer to let them take a house that was about to be redeveloped into a bunch of apartments and just turn it into this immersive, ephemeral art exhibit. So different artists each took different walls or different rooms, like painted them, designed them however they wanted, using the spaces, using some of the material left in the house, and it turned into this just truly incredible experience that ran for a couple of weekends. It was just really beautiful to see. Gave a lot of artists a chance to create work, exhibit work, and pulled a lot of people through it, including the mayor and a number of news media organizations, which was just, really cool, really just a delight.
I love you just walked into the room and just sat and delivered.
I thought you were going to say the Tamagotchi wedding.
Oh, the Tamagotchi wedding, the world's largest Tamagotchi wedding, is also quite amazing. We'll just do that one.
All right, how about you, my friend?
Others is Tamagotchi. Yeah, I was going to say Tamagotchi. Well, Art on Barton, you can't really. I'll do that. But the Tamagotchi wedding was the one I thought that was just the absurdity of it. That was like the orphans with flamethrowers. You were there. You actually there. I had to see it from afar.
Very, very quickly, the Tamagotchi wedding was, so the Toronto Tamagotchi Club is this organization that started during the pandemic, I think, either during or slightly after. Basically, people who had Tamagotchis, bringing them together over the shared interest to create community and connection. And it's now actually much like the Awesome Foundation in many cities throughout the world. And they organized to do the world's largest Tamagotchi wedding because many models of Tamagotchi can actually get married if they reach a certain age. So they brought people in from all over the continent and some people from Caribbean country. And like, no, But they had, I believe, I haven't checked in with them to know if they got officially entered into the Guinness Book of World Records, but they were going for it. They were very organized, so that one was really cool too.
Was there a previous record?
No, it was one of those. We've now thought of it, and they will take it. Yeah.
Establishing standard right there. Hey, hello.
Hello, Ellie from San Francisco. I have a really hard time choosing favorites, but a recent one we gave that I liked was some clowns who were going outside of like the City Hall and Immigration Center every day, it seemed like, to protest like what's going on with ICE and just making fun of the whole situation, performing in the streets, juggling. And it's funny because it was someone who had applied for a grant previously, and then we had a month, we were talking about different ideas, and someone in the group said like, hey, this person's been out here every day doing this thing, so then we decided to look back at their old grant and then give them a grant for the thing that they're currently doing to support that. Yeah.
You stepped up in front. That's awesome. Good.
It is awesome. I'm Donna from Orlando. I think they're all awesome, but choosing, I'll have to go to Cole today when he spoke to us. And here was this young man who had this vision and idea and got a couple of people together, but Creative City Project and Immerse, that's my favorite. I can't say two, right, Terry? Fusion Fest is one too.
Hello.
Hey, I'll pass because I'm not with the chapter.
Okay.
Let's see. I guess one of my favorites was actually this lady who was really trying to get more science in the community, and so she was creating backpacks full of easily accessible like equipment and things, and then partnered with our library so people could check out these backpacks full of exploration equipment. And so I just loved the fact of using our libraries in ways, unique ways to get stuff out into the world, and the creativity of like checking out things other than just books and media, and being able to check out a whole backpack full of stuff you could take into the woods and like explore the creeks and the streams. And there was little easy like laminated cards on like things you could do, experiments and ways you could explore your environment. So that's one of my favorites.
Library.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm Haley from Awesome Gainesville, and there's so many good ones. Our most recent one was to a nonprofit Grow Hub that provides jobs to adults with disabilities. They have a nursery with veggie starts and native pollinator starts, and a nursery that's open to the public. And I think that's a really inspiring one.
That's a good one.
I'm Crystal, also from the Gainesville chapter, and there was one grant that, this was a grant I was part of that was actually a second award. The first time they had given the award, I wasn't with the group, but it was called the Grace Pharmacy, which was collecting medicines and medications for the unhoused, and then they'd come back to us for another award to do clinics in the community. And so we had provided them a grant to give them equipment, gloves and just healthcare equipment to then be out in the community and service whoever needs help, no charge. That's the one I was excited about.
I'm Joel Pomerantz from San Francisco. And what's really cool is, what's really cold is this room.
So nice.
Let's show some heat tours and now everybody heat tours.
Yeah, you play there.
Thank you. So the concept of a high school student coming and asking us for menstrual supplies for their bathroom was good, but the value mart was the best. Some artists they took over a space about the size of this room as a month-long corporate send-up of a convenience mart or something like that, and they had different artists from the community put things on the shelves, everything you can imagine. Some of them were sarcastic, and some of them were absolutely novel, strange ideas, but they were all sort of playful ways that you could stock the shelves of a corporate storefront. And Value Mart had its executives that came in and so on. And the way we delivered the grant on the opening night of this event was we walked in after most of the crowd had arrived, dressed in bandit clothing with a bag that had dollar signs on it, and we had slingshots, and we made everybody, we said, we didn't announce to anybody that we were doing this, we just showed up, and we said, okay, everybody put your hands out, and had wads of $1 bills in our slingshots, and people were putting their hands up, of course, and no, put your hands out. How are you gonna grab the money if your hands are up? So, and then we shot wads of ones all over the room, and people, this is real money.
Put the hands out then, didn't
So a few $100s went to the random crowd that happened to be there that day, and most of it went into the donation pile, which was the cash register, right? So the artists, the organizers of the event got the funds.
Created joy and a story in the process. That's awesome. We want to follow that.
Yes, it was Value Mart.
I know, ours is not as fun. In fact, Mike Amish from Gainesville, awesome Gainesville, and Grace came to mind too because we funded them at least 3 times. And it was our first grant that we ever gave. It was Grace Grows. So Grace Marketplace is for the homeless. It's a shelter where folks in Gainesville can come and stay, but they also do programs, obviously pharmacy and medicine. But this was a collaboration with the University of Florida and their doctorate of plant medicine. PhD students came and taught a course to the homeless on horticulture, on growing. So they each had their own little plot of land in which they could grow their own food. So it was like they had a piece of land that being homeless and not having something. And then they got a certificate at the end of that too, so. Yeah.
We have so many, but the one that I like, that I want to talk about is the one that I thought had a number of different levels to it. So I really like the Tubman stamp, which was a project that there was a plan at one point to replace Andrew Jackson with Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, which got killed. And so what this project was a stamp that was created that perfectly fit the portrait of Jackson. And so you could take the stamp and stamp over on the 20s and make your own Tubman's, Harriet Tubman 20s. And the project was, I think he wanted money to fund more stamps to ship them out for people to just be able to do it themselves. He wasn't selling the stamps necessarily. The most interesting piece of it, though, is the ripple-on effects from this one particular grant. So the project happened. The stamp ultimately ended up in the Smithsonian. The stamp has since been pulled from the Smithsonian because it's not in keeping with the current trends politically. So there was the political aspect to it. There was the just the JFDI, do it aspect of it. And the person who did the project is actually now a trustee in the New York chapter as a pay it forward after he had gotten his grant. So I tied it all up.
That's cool. I thought you meant an actual postage stamp. You said stamp.
Oh, sorry, no, it was
That's
a
rubber stamp.
Rubber stamp.
Subversive human rights.
Yeah, it's
Hey.
How's it going? Graham from DC. I want to share a story first that's not my favorite grant. That's not my answer to the question, but I think it's worth noting because we get a lot of urban gardens. That seems to be a theme, and there's yes or no sort of mentality around it here. But in DC, we got somebody a job as an urban gardener with a grant. They were applying for the newly created urban gardener for the city of DC in the Parks Department. And they thought, maybe I should have an urban garden on my resume to get this job. And so they applied for the Awesome Foundation. And we said, yeah, here's a grant. Go make an urban garden. They were like, cool, resume. Here you go. And they got the job. And they were the only one that had an urban garden on their resume. And that was 12 years ago, I think. My favorite one recently is we had grief karaoke, which was took place. Grief karaoke. It took place in a cemetery, and was karaoke for people to process their grief and loss and all that sort of stuff. And the person is an artist this is an art project for them, and they're expanding it. I think their next plan was to go to Philly. I don't know if the year from Philly was there. But it was cool. It was good. It was like kind of Orphan with a flamethrower type of situation. It's very wholesome, but also like rad.
They could do that along with the Rager size that we funded. Yes.
I'm waiting for birth karaoke when they sing about birth. Just say for me.
Hey, Patrick from Ann Arbor. I actually polled my fellow trustees on this question. A couple of people said the same project, which was the first one that came to mind for me too. It was called Birdie's Bookmobile. And we fund a lot in Detroit since we haven't had a Detroit chapter for a while, as I mentioned last night. And this was a woman in Detroit who bought a school bus, turned it into a bookmobile, stocked it with books, and took it into underserved areas of the city and brought books to kids. And I think we funded her twice, which is unusual for us. The first time, I think we actually funded the refurbishment of the bus. The second time, to buy some extra books for it. And then recently, we got a third application from her, which we did not end up funding. But I was really excited to see that she had moved into actually buying a building, and there's now actually a physical location for this operation on top of everything else. So it's just one of those cool, one of those cool seed sort of stories that I think we're all pretty familiar with, and one of our favorites.
Cool. So I'm Emily from Pittsburgh, and I've been to several summits before, and my favorite project is still our very first one. So I'm sure I've talked about it at a prior summit. So I picked another more recent one to share with you guys. It's called City Vision. I don't know if the slideshow will be up again, but there are pictures from it in there. But this fellow created a kaleidoscope. Still not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. But he said it's like a kaleidoscope, except instead of looking at beads, glitter, or glass in an object cell, a kaleidoscope uses the world around you as a subject. So you kind of see what you're actually looking at a little bit more than you normally would, with all the angles and broken up and whatnot. But he did it in 2021 when we still really weren't doing much inside, and he placed them around the city at overlooks and parks and things like that, and encouraged just anybody walking by to pick it up and enjoy the beauty of what's around them. And he also had a social media campaign going on at the same time, so that it could kind of be a scavenger hunt. If you found one, then learned the hashtag, you could then check out the other ones as well.
So I'm Rose at State College. Dan is going to talk about things that happen. I've only ever been a donor, and so this is my very first summit that I've ever attended. But I want to do a pay it forward for you. I'm a university professor, and I teach a project management class, of which my master's degree students are required to do a project for a nonprofit. And they have to do the project planning, and they have to do stakeholder management. So as you need to have someone, I teach this class every semester, and as you need to have someone be able to do project planning, come to me, and I will assign this to a student and have them work on it. And even sometimes the undergrads are looking for something more to fill out their resume than doing their fence or their flower garden. So this could potentially even happen with the undergrads. And so there's usually anywhere from 40 to 75 kids through most of the semesters. And in the fall, last fall I had 84 in one class. So lots of opportunity for project planning for you.
Oh, incredible. Build it in your stuff too. That's beautiful. Thank you.
I'm Dan, as forewarned by my mother. So it's really hard going last to come up with a project that's going to even remotely be memorable to you after hearing so many really awesome projects. So the thing that I want to leave you guys with is kind of like an interview that I had with two of our grant award winners. They were freshmen, new to the State College area, and they had previously volunteered in their communities at like a assisted care facility, and they did board games and art classes with the folks in those facilities. And they wanted to do a similar project in State College. So they wanted to buy the art supplies and things like that for their project. So it's, that's a pretty noble goal, but what really struck me was their kind of idea of, well, this is the one thing that we can do in our community that kind of brings us together and connects us with our community. The one little thing that has this fall-on effect of, I've helped this one person, I talk about that with my friends, they talk about it with their friends, and so on. And that really stuck with me, that these 18-year-old kids had this concept of paying it forward already ingrained in them, the just fucking do it attitude of, we'll do this with our own, project management skills, our own capabilities. And that, it gave me hope for the next generation of people coming through.